Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another lovely episode of Roll20 Presents The Burning Wheel. I have been making NPCs too much.
Yes.
There's been too much character burning, and I am like I got traits and life paths floating around in my brain. That's all I've been up to. What's everybody else been doing?
I've been playing They Are Billions.
Yeah.
It is a fun game about defending your.
Please explain that game to me because
So like the
I see
premise of the
everybody
game.
playing it, but I
Okay,
don't.
yeah, but the premise of the game is basically like imagine Sim City if occasionally it asked you to play StarCraft.
Okay.
That's kind of like how it plays. Like your base management is really important, and like putting your stuff in the right places, and like putting everything together and the macro and all that stuff. And then like every now and then a wave of zombies will attack you,
So
and
it's like a
you're
tower. It's like
under.
a tower defense game.
I mean, kind of, but I wouldn't describe it as like tower defense because that makes me think of like a thing walking through a path and like taking tower shots along the way and that kind of thing.
The
It
best
doesn't really
description I've
doesn't really
heard
work like
of
that.
it is it is a roguelike city builder.
Sort of, yeah.
Huh.
Because you make your run and
The
you know
th-
you're constrained to that, and if you succeed, great. If you don't, you die. You have to start over, do a different
The,
run.
the thing about it that I sort of really like is if you make one little mistake and a single zombie gets through and like wrecks a building or something, you just die. Like you got to be on the ball all the time. You got to set your guys to be defending your open spaces and so forth because just like random stuff
Is
ends
it
all the time.
so? Is it like if a single zombie gets through, you die, like the game is over, or it's a
No,
single zombie
just
gets through and then it's not worth playing anymore?
well, a single zombie gets through and then kills a house, which spawns like 8 more zombies that kill another house and spawn another 8. You know what I mean? Like
Interesting.
it gets worse as they kill more of your buildings. And early game, there's not much you can do about it once you've lost one or two.
I feel like that would be like the trickiest thing to tweak in the game, right? To make it so it is like, where is that point of no return?
There's definitely like you can save it, from bad situations, but it is one of those games where like you have to make the right decisions, otherwise you lose.
I
Like,
saw Ferociously Steph playing it, and she like deleted a bunch of houses when the zombies were coming in. She just deleted them all because she didn't want them to get infected.
I mean that's a good plan.
Right. It's the Soviet retreat strategy, right? Like here
Yeah,
here come the
burn it all.
Nazis. Let's just burn it all down. Yeah. Interesting. Cool. So you're digging that. It sounds like the kind of game you like. You like
I mean,
like you were
it's
saying. You
good.
like
It's like
randomness and
razor's edge, like in terms of whether you get to live or die, and it's a little bit RNG based in terms of where your base starts and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's fun. It's like a new setup every time.
Interesting.
It's real good.
Yeah, I feel like pretty much everybody I know is either playing that or that submarine one. Subnautica.
Subnautica.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's what I'm seeing a lot of right
Is
now.
that about to
It
come
was-
out or something?
It
Because
was
that's been
just fully
fucking
released.
old.
Yeah, I think it just did. Yeah.
It was old, but it was old early access old. Like it wasn't ever fully released, and it was just fully released.
What a strange world we live in where we can have this conversation. Like, did this just come out? Yes, but also 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's interesting because like people are developing games with people playing their games now. So the way that people develop is change. It has changed, and the idea that you could develop a game completely in the dark with no one seeing any bit of it until it's released is just like saved for people who have billions of dollars,
Yeah,
like
say
Hideo
save.
Kojima.
I wonder about that. I wonder if that's like become like a AAA only thing, or it's just we assume that that's the case because that's become what's happened.
I don't know enough about the games industry to make like a super informed opinion on it, but my thought is that if someone is trying to build a game with a new studio where they don't have a ton of backer money, the early access is or a Kickstarter or something of that sort is the easiest and most like culturally accepted way for them to get the money to pay the devs to finish the game.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's a sort of strange thing because it's like you wouldn't we wouldn't there's no other thing we would like sell like this. Like, cool, you want to buy a house? Well, so here's the bedroom, and you can live in the bedroom while we're building you the kitchen and the bathroom.
I mean, people do that with remodels.
Yeah, but then you already have the thing. But it's interesting to see that happening, that we can be in this place where the game is really different, or maybe not. And there's this place. Like I remember when they were doing Reign of Kings, where when Reign of Kings like came out, it was like they were abandoning it. It was like it's out because we're done developing it, not like we're proud of it and it's finished. It's cool watching different companies adapt to that model.
And I think there's been a lot of kickback in terms of people who do that sort of early access, where it will be an early access and there'll be changes and changes and changes and never actually a finished game. I feel like especially in the genre that Reign of Kings is in, and kind of starting from like DayZ, whatever. Like starting with that kind of model where it was an early access for so long, and it's very unlikely the game will ever see a finished state. People have kind of like spoken up against that and don't really enjoy that. And I feel like the studios and people who worked on them have suffered because of it. So it's unlikely that will be like going forward. I feel like we're going to see more things like Subnautica where it actually gets a full release and they're actually done with all the stuff. And I haven't played it ever, so I have a hard time saying exactly how that process works.
Like I think Darkest Dungeon did this too, right? Where it was like early access, and then they were updating it and changing it, and like it felt like you're part of like a beta test. But then when it came out, it was like, now it's out, and also here's the next thing that we're doing. Like here's the DLC. Yeah. I definitely prefer that approach to the like, we're kind of working on it. It's sort of broken. Okay, it's done enough. Okay, bye. We're finished. We're gonna go do another game.
Battle Chef did a pretty good job in my mind. They did the Kickstarter thing, and then they got a studio backing after they had enough to show that someone could actually be interested. And then they released the full game, and they also are working on like the next thing. So like, yeah, I agree that that's a cooler way to go about it.
Yeah, it's interesting coming from a tabletop RPG like development space, because the idea of like an ashcan version of the game and like widespread playtest that's like the game's sort of done. Here it is. Looking at a game like Blades in the Dark, where it was like I've played like 20 different versions of the game, and many of them were very different. And it's cool seeing some of that in the space that isn't RPGs. Admittedly, RPGs are a lot cheaper to make. It's a lot easier to make a text file than it is to playtest a video game. Yeah, but cool. So yeah, Subnautica. Is that a thing that anybody's like interested in playing? Like I watched a couple of people play it, and it seems like spooky. There's some spooky underwater stuff.
I have a 0% interest in anything that takes place underwater because of water levels.
Agreed. Exactly agreed.
I just like I cannot bring myself to give a crap about anything that happens underwater.
I'm with you on team
why
hatred of water levels. Yeah.
Because water levels are the worst levels in every game.
Name
a game that has a water level.
Like
the water level is the worst part. You make a whole game about water, it's gonna. I just can't play it.
So
my thought was water levels like you live in a place where.
No.
I was just like, what are you?
We are landlocked here in Edmonton.
Counterpoint. I will say, Abzu is really good, and that takes place entirely underwater, but it's pretty much just Journey underwater. But also the water level in the Donkey Kong games, Donkey Kong Country. Primo, but only because of the music.
Good music. Yeah. It's still like the worst Donkey Kong levels.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Dave.
What about
further? There is no need to make scary underwater games because it was already perfected in Sonic the Hedgehog. You cannot get scarier than the drowning noise in Sonic. It's impossible. So stop.
I won't even begin the conversation about Sonic the Hedgehog with you.
Yeah.
I won't even, because nope, can't do it. I want to actually play Burning Wheel today and not get Dave going about Sonic. Andrew, you were going to make a point about water levels.
Okay, well, how do we feel about a classic like Super Mario World's water levels?
I still feel like it is it is the worst level in the game of the whole rest of the game.
But that game also has the ghost house levels, and I want to know where, are the haunted houses worse or better than the water levels? And for that matter, the haunted ship. Is it just the pinnacle of awfulness?
I think.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like,
if we want to get at it from a perspective of like gameplay, It's like the problem is like you're playing a game and you're learning the way the game works, right? You know what it does when you press the jump button. You know the momentum of the game. It's sort of the same reason we hate ice levels, right? Because it's like now all that stuff you learned, throw it away because the controls are like a mushy, awkward, shitty version of what you already learned. And so that's why I think people get frustrated so much with it, because it's like, here's a different game, enjoy. So yeah. I feel you on that hatred of water levels.
Yeah, I like playing the game that I bought, not the underwater version of it. So I'm never gonna buy a game that's the underwater version of a game I could buy. Subnautica will never.
So what's the above water version of Subnautica?
I don't know. You said it was kind of spooky.
There was an early access game called like Shipwrecked or something where you're on the islands and not in the water part. So, I mean, maybe that's the above water part of Subnautica.
I don't know. I would need to know more about the actual game that I'm saying I'll never play. To tell you literally anything in comparison to it. But it looks like one of those gathering survival games, like any of the like Rust or like
it kind of does. Yeah, or the Forest or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, from the outside, that's what it looks like. So
yeah.
And the Forest was okay. I had a good time with that.
Yeah, so today on the Burning Wheel, you all find yourselves on a boat out in the middle of the ocean, and the boat falls over. And now it's spend the rest of the... Hey, look, there's no swimming skill in the Burning Wheel. There's no swimming on purpose. So it's fine. You all drown, I guess. Make some health tests.
Okay.
So you've been playing that Billions. Everybody been busy. Dave, you were playing some video games. What are you playing right now, man?
I'm playing this new game that's just got released recently as well. It's based on like an old RTS, like a series of RTSs that, like you probably never heard of it. And they just released it now. It's called World of Warcraft. I've been playing it now, and I've been streaming that every day for the last few days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And is this a intentional streaming thing, or is it just like, I'm going to be playing Warcraft and might as well flip on the old streamerino?
I don't know. It's tricky. Like filling up my time is a hard thing for me. Maybe I want to give a go of actually doing streaming stuff. I think it'd be cool to get affiliated, but like WoW is the easiest thing to do because I have to pay like literally zero attention to that game because I've played it for like 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can just do it in my sleep.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe it'll expand into a thing. Maybe it won't. That's a good question. We'll see.
Well, that's good. You're very knowledgeable about World of Warcraft. Your 15 years of experience shows.
I think so.
It shows real good. So
except now because I'm playing an alliance character and I don't know where anything is.
Mm.
I've never done that.
Yeah. Don't worry. You just ask me. I can tell you where everything is in Stormwind as long as it's the Warlock trainer. And nothing else. I can't tell you. I can't help you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe I could remember where the auction house is.
Yes, the Warlock trainer in the basement of that one tavern.
The Slaughtered Lamb, I think it's called.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
I saw, Andrew, I wanted to ask you about this. I saw you were playing a game the other day against a very skilled and talented opponent. I saw that you were engaged in a deep one-on-one white knuckle battle
with myself.
Yeah, who won? Who won that fight? Was it you or did you win?
Well, I feel like the defeat really stung more than the victory, made me feel good. So
you've been in War Machine Town like pretty hard lately, like painting minis and doing that.
Yeah.
What brought you back? The big pile of
right
lead
here on my desk, and I wanted to, chip away at this enormous pile of painting.
Mm-hmm. What are you painting right
now? My Nomad Warjack from my Magnus army, which is like, he's a traitor. He betrayed his people and he took a bunch of their stuff. And so that's what all of it is.
I love this. I don't know anything about the world except looking at the like every year that I go to Gen Con, I walk by the Privateer booth and I'm like, wow, this looks really cool. Too bad the role-playing game that is based on it is not very good.
It really isn't.
It really isn't. It's such a shame. I was so excited.
Here's a question, Adam and assembled crew. Stellaris? Good? Not good? Enjoying? Not enjoying?
I like the single player version a lot more than I like the multiplayer version because I feel like the chill vibes of being able to like sit there and like I feel like if I was playing it offline, the multiplayer version would be totally fine. But when I'm trying to like multitask to that extent, I get like super overwhelmed. And like yesterday, Adam and I played some like hardcore war, or we tried to hardcore war mode Stellaris. And like I was basically not looking at my chat at all. I was just like, oh, game.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, and so I feel like for my attention span, playing it single player, I'm able to actually like pause and look over and like involve like my work part of it. And if I'm playing multiplayer, I just like I can't at all. So like, yeah, I mean, I've gotten really into it, and I really like it. But for work reasons, I feel like I have to keep that solo activity. Otherwise, I'm not paying any attention at all.
I've been enjoying the first like hour and a half of every time that I've started a new game. I really like getting set up and like finding a planet and colonizing it and stuff. And then I get I've played three games that are about like 4 to 6 hours a piece so far. And I feel like every time I get to the same point where I'm like, and now nothing is happening, right? Like there's a very slow part, which I understand that there's gonna be some changes to the way that like conflict works. But yeah, that it's fun, and I'm excited. I want to get through that gulf of like nothing's really happening, and then get to the other part where there's other cool stuff, because I can see it. I can see it over there across the gap.
Yeah, I think the mid game is like the most difficult part in terms of like what you should be doing and where that focus should be and stuff. But anyway, I'll talk about that later. Like,
yeah, it's interesting. I can see and I can like feel like what they're trying to do. It feels like at the beginning it's like clear and you know what to do, and everything is like you can make some important intelligent choices and get set up for your kind of government. And then I feel like the mid game sort of is like, okay, you're making a bunch of choices that operate really, really slowly, but if you don't do them all correctly, you're gonna get 4 hours from now and realize that you fucked up the whole thing, and you can't like.
It can definitely happen. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's a learning experience. I was saying at the end of my stream before, like as far as Stellaris goes, it's a game I'm still curious about. I don't know if I like it or not yet, but I am curious enough to keep at it and try to like figure that out. Yeah, it's cool though. I like that about games. It's way better than playing a game where I'm just like, yeah, this is pretty good, I guess. Like it's fine. It's a fun game.
Paradox basically does all of that stuff with all of their games, right? Like Crusader Kings, Hearts of Iron, like the stuff that I've played has been really good and really deep, and like there's a lot there. But like trying to explore it can be like really daunting. Definitely, like trying to get the most out of it.
No, I definitely have already. Like, I really like the game. I love space shit, and like interactive space shit is just like my jam.
Space shit.
I think I've like got a lot of early game exploratory start done pretty well. Like, I feel like I understand that. I understand a little bit about talking positively with the factions and how that works. But in terms of like having a militaristic society or like different types of things other than just like science and exploration, I'm very much like, I don't know, the Vulcans or something. I'm just like, science, exploration. You want to fight me?
I mean, that's a way you can win too. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Having better tech than everybody is pretty good.
I think to your point, Blue Jay, the multiplayer thing does complicate it, because I find when I'm playing it, I get to a point where I'm just like, nope, burn it down, start over. Like I realize that something has happened that I'm like, I'm not going to get out of this, and I don't want to drag it out another hour. I'm like, nope, I'm going to light this shit on fire and start again.
Andrew and I have been in several situations exactly like that.
Totally. And I think that if you're playing with someone who's like, but I'm doing good, I'm like, well, I don't want to, I'm done. Like this, I lost a big fight. I realized what I should have done instead, and there's no point in carrying on. In the same way that I feel like in this, like the way I learn a game, I swear to God, if they fucking tell me that there's an anomaly detected one more goddamn time, I'm gonna burn down the entire science division. I don't need to know about the anomalies.
Detected.
Yeah, shut up with your anomalies.
Anomaly detected.
Oh my God. Yeah, but it's cool. It's
And
cool
it
that
gives
it's
you a
like
pop-up every
engaging.
time.
Oh, I'm so sick of it.
Look at this anomaly. It's right here.
Like
Look
I
at
know, I don't care. The
I mean,
universe
I
is
just,
full of
like,
anomalies.
I've played it so much now that is white noise to me. I just click it and move on and click it. And
Totally. Yeah. But it's also dragged into the like I don't stop, like the lore in the game feels like speed bumps instead of interesting things I want to engage with. So like
no, I really like them.
yeah,
There's certain like large event chains that are super interesting, but like the smaller stuff is all just generic. Like
I think
the anomalies are I don't read them anymore, but I really like when you have one randomly generated like species of a long time ago or something that you need to figure out about, and that's been really fun.
yeah. It's funny when you're in autopilot, like I'm like, all right, I got 17 things that I really want to do, and the game is like, yeah, but what about this wall of text about a space worm? And I'm like, okay, I'm sure that's really interesting, but please fuck off. I'm trying to play the game.
yep, it happens. Yeah.
When you're playing on your own in composite,
Speaking
you
of
actually get
walls-
to read that stuff.
Speaking of walls of text, burning wheel.
Just keep working on segue wise. You're getting there.
I gotta open it, so I gotta practice.
Yeah, fair.
Take
Yeah,
a
let's
repeat test on that
let's
one.
get beliefs all squared away, because we're in a we did the trait vote last time. We kind of set up the new place where the characters are at, and now I need to see what y'all are trying to do. So Joy, you wanna talk about Joy's
Sure
beliefs,
thing.
instincts, and
Wait,
traits?
this is the wrong page. Hang on, I'm on the wrong character page. I was like, okay, I got all my stuff here. It's all good, but no, it's not the right thing. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So, beliefs.
Yes.
I actually need to write one. I totally forgot that I need to write one, so I'll do that and get back to you. But
Okay.
the other ones that I have are every upstart needs an accomplice. Emilio will be my sidekick, even though he doesn't know it yet.
Okay.
And truth was a friend. I'll figure out what he wants and get it for him and ingratiate myself, securing his friendship once again. So I have a free belief that I'll figure out.
Okay, so how will we know that you have accomplished these? Like, I want to make sure that we can clearly be like, yep, this one.
I mean, with Emilio, it's like when he is my friend, it's done. You know what I mean? Like when he would help me do bad things because it's me, like my accomplice. I want him to be involved in the shit that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there a more concrete like thing that we can do? Because you do want him to just like agree to doing something, like, because friendship is very hard to like pin down,
Quantify.
Yeah, it's hard to quantify like him being your sidekick.
I don't know. I'll come back to it.
Okay.
Come back to it. I don't want to like sit on it for too long.
Yeah, for sure.
Instincts. When anyone speaks of God, laugh. Always keep an eye for it. No one can see it. And confront every boast with an ugly truth. Traits. Off-kilter, scapegoat, ashen, eldritch, and the new arrival, bootlicker. Die traits, numb, dreamer, lame. Call-on traits, aura of innocence, keen taste, the fool, and another new arrival, cold-hearted.
That's right. Cold-hearted was our vote in, and
because
bootlicker,
broken became bootlicker.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's an upgrade.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Great. Cool. Yeah. So you.
I'll write up a belief and try and quantify the other ones a little better.
Ponder them. Okay. Agatha. Let's talk about your beliefs. 'Cause I was looking at them before, and I want to make sure that they jibe with a thing that happened as a result of the Duel of Wits, because I feel like there's some slipperiness here we need to address. So, what are your?
Probably around my second belief.
Yeah. Just because I want to remind everybody what the agreement of that Duel of Wits was. Let's do that first, and then we'll talk about it.
Remind me of that, and then
So the conditions of that Duel of Wits were very severe. That you would become a disciple of the Holy Choir, and the Holy Choir will in turn acknowledge the old ways in their doctrine, however that plays out. So you, the thing that made me wonder was you've got a belief about the hollowness of their beliefs, but their beliefs are your beliefs. Like you're becoming a disciple of the choir. Your freedom here was to guide their beliefs in a particular direction. But let's talk about what your intent is for these and see how it goes.
Yeah, that one I'm not super married to. So the first one I like a lot, which is that Robillard seems to think he has knowledge. I will show him the extent of his ignorance. because he's all like, I know about stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but there's all this other stuff that you don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
All the like spirit binding stuff and
Okay. Yep.
proper sorcery and whatnot. Because he's just like, yeah, angels, summoning angels.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, the part that I do like about it is the first bit, which is for Agatha that survival is the only morality.
Mm-hmm.
To say that like that's the only thing that she at this point believes to be like a guiding principle or whatever. That all of her actions should be centered around that because that's the one thing she has stuck to.
Yeah, I almost feel like there's two beliefs here. Like survival is the only morality is a belief. It's a fate farm, right? Where it's one of those ones that could very easily become a trait if you continue to use it. You're not going to ever get persona for it necessarily, but it's also a trap for a future like deeds point when you choose something else over survival.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is like a guiding belief that we've seen kind of through the game for Agatha, just never sort of stripped down this way.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that I've kind of seeing in the character as I've played her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that I think that's an interesting thing and something that's kind of cool to focus on, if you're feeling it.
Yeah, and so the second clause was really about her wanting to communicate this thing that she feels is true to Sister Sufferance.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So is it because you think Sister Sufferance doesn't like understand survival, or like is it about her personally, or because you've got this first belief, these beliefs interact with people but not with like the religion of the choir.
Well, I don't know very much about the religion of the choir.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like me, the player.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it much has been shared with anyone yet.
Exactly. So it's hard to write a belief about it.
I mean, you can write a belief about understanding it, right? Like,
yeah,
I guess
that's what number 3 needs to be.
Well, I mean, maybe like the trick is that I don't want it to conflict. Maybe it can conflict with Agatha. That would be interesting. It can conflict because Agatha's first belief seems to indicate like you don't know shit, like you're ignorant, which is not true. He knows a bunch of stuff. It just knows different stuff than you.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of want to change it to be more about bridging a gap of knowledge because that's what it is, right?
That's the impression I got from it too.
Like he knew everything, and for her, it's like no. Both of us have stuff to learn. Like stop being so narrow.
Right. Yeah.
This one is formed from that meeting that
yeah, and that's the impression that I got from it too, but the way it's phrased can certainly be taken to mean like he's an idiot who doesn't. I'll show him how stupid he is. It's more about like helping him understand. Yeah. And then you have room for a third one that could be about guiding or informing, or like it depends on kind of what your situation is with Sufferance. Like, do you care about her as a person or as like a vector for some other agenda?
Yeah, it's saying that I'm not sure on yet, because again, even with her, like I know some stuff, but
I mean, you could write the thing about beliefs too is they don't have to necessarily be like aggressive, marking a brand on the universe kind of belief. They can be like, this is a thing I'm interested in, I will learn more about, or whatever, right? Like you can see your character's lack of knowledge about another character, about a thing in the world, as being an opportunity to write a belief.
Yeah, like one where the second clause is about learning more about Sister Sufferance.
Yeah, so what interests Agatha in her, in Sister Sufferance, this like young nun? That's also her rap name, by the way. She's Young Nun. Tune into Character Burning if you want to see what that's all about.
What she is interested in is why she chose faith over all of the other traditions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you know that she has family that she could have gone. There's another path she could have taken.
Yeah, so I'm interested in knowing like what pushed her onto this.
Yeah,
one.
and that'll require talking to her and making some tests and stuff. And I could see that being a thing. And you could accomplish that today for sure.
So that's good.
Yeah, I like those. So you've got like right in reverse order. You get your like right now belief. Like you're not going to get a ton of access to Robillard, but you've got the sister at hand, and the two of you can interact and you can build your relationship with her. You've got your overarching like this is always true of Agatha, and we're going to focus on that and like what she's. So my goal here will then be to challenge that by giving you other things that might be more important than survival. And then Robillard knows things, and you want to join your bodies of knowledge together and then sort of put that in a way. Yeah, I like it. Cool. Instincts?
So I'm leaving one open because there's got to be some new thing about her new life, but I just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
Which is probably going to be to like always contradict people or something. But anyways, never put something back in the wrong place and always speak truth to power. Always speak truth to power can definitely come up a lot, especially when talking to Robillard. So
yes. Yeah, and I think it'll be an interesting instinct because your part of your integration into the faith is that like you're being robbed of your like being the downtrend. Like you have power too. So there's an element of like being truthful with yourself. So yeah, I think that should be interesting. Cool.
I'm always in the way, well-traveled, spooky, inscrutable, respectful women, vindictive, pragmatic, which is new. Misunderstood, fable-headed, blind, gifted, spirit familiar, essence of earth, unsteady, rat speak, fork-tongue Wolverine.
Awesome. So many.
I'm traded up.
Yes, the unsteady fork-tongue Wolverine.
Yeah, that's my favorite arc of that character. Cool. All right. The Lady Alessandra. Let's talk about your beliefs.
My first belief is the same as last time, because we decided it hadn't really been resolved, even though he was like me. I refuse to owe anything to Lodovic. I will get this middle-class upstart off my back. My second one changed a little bit. The king thirsts for glory before progeny. I will convince Soren to help him make a story to tell his son and protect him from harm. So that's like, I figured that conversation is one conversation, so I included it as like one like bullet point in the belief.
Yeah, it's the two-part, like, you want this and you're going to do this now to move towards it.
Yeah. And then a queen needs allies. I will gather the queen's inner circle to me. My instincts are never allow anyone to treat me below my station. Always redirect violence away from my person. Whenever I meet with a member of the court, recall a piece of gossip about them. My traits are your lordship, ambitious, well-dressed, independent, cosmopolitan, raven-haired, jealous, mark of privilege, rapier wit, and charming, which is a call-on for seduction and not whatever else it can be a call-on for.
Okay.
You had to choose.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. Okay, good. Those are all good and solid. Though, of course, you have a belief about one of the like NPCs I didn't burn up, but that's okay. That's okay, Soren. If you need stats, we'll just throw some on.
I literally told you I had this belief before.
Yeah. I know. I wasn't blaming you. I just the other characters are a higher priority. Soren's not that important to me. Okay, cool. Lodwick.
Okay. I just did a bit of frantic changing. I realized one of my beliefs was an instinct, so I grabbed a new quick one. So my current beliefs are Carpathia is in a period of change. I need to stay ahead of the curve. I will find out what happened at the castle to force out the court. My second belief is I understand the suffering of the peasants and lowborn. I will work towards bettering their lives through creating opportunities and boosting the economy. That's my fate one. Soren and Tabitha's great adventure will require a lot of preparation and organization. I will start by finding out who in Carpathia is participating.
Okay. So you're looking to see like who else is members of their little plan to how much does Ludovic know about kind of what's going on?
During the downtime, I was told about the plan by Soren and Tabitha, and I've spent my downtime in the presence of Soren, so I imagine quite a lot.
Well, so what do you tell me what you know about it? I just want to square away like what I have in my head with what you do.
So they currently, the plan is to head back and recapture the castle. Soren is in the process of convincing the king to do this. They need me to outfit and introduce them to like some more people, which was they originally asked me about mercenaries.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's everything.
Okay, cool.
The problem I had was I had a belief that was I'll introduce them to a mercenary company, and then we realized I don't have any circles that will overlap.
So it's mostly about funding.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm starting with this. I'm starting who is participating, and then potentially, if I make allies of them, they can make the circles roll for me for the mercenary company instead, which I can then bankroll.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yep. So my instincts, I have a new one, which is I need to get a solid handle of the current economic climate of the kingdom. I will brush up on my general knowledge of markets whenever I get the opportunity.
That is a lot to be instinctive. Let's crush it down. That's a long one, and that's okay. It's a good place to start.
I can just cut off the first half of it.
Well, what? So I mean, it's whenever I get the opportunity, what does that look like? And is this like a skill? Are you making practice tests? Are you?
I think it's making practice tests to open markets wise.
Okay. So whenever I have spare time, study the market.
Yep. Whenever I have spare time.
Because it's about like if this then that, right? So it's when time to spare, study market.
Yep. I will brush up on my general knowledge of markets whenever I have spare time, and that's going to be opening markets wise.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
I think is a big gap in his conceptual knowledge and a wise that I'd actually like to raise, because it would let me start informing certain things about how they are, which is an important part of the way the character can influence the world, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like it.
Then I always have cash on hand and never go anywhere without Obram.
Excellent.
Much simpler instincts.
And your traits?
My traits are self-satisfied, idealistic, materialistic, stocky, forward, affinity for business, penny-wise, and my newest one is patronizing.
Cool. All right. I dig it. Good. Okay. So, I was gonna say, yeah, Joy, are you ready with your?
I mean, I have a belief here. I don't know what you're going to think of it, but for the Emilio one, I did every upstart needs an accomplice. I'll make sure Emilio is loyal to me over Ekaterina.
Okay.
Instead.
Sure.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like that.
And the open belief, I said, the king is home with the crow. I should pay them a visit and let my former master know I still live.
Cool. Okay. So you'll know that Emilio is like, that you've accomplished this belief when you can convince him to do or say something that proves that he's more loyal to you than Ekaterina.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. And then another one about just like reconnecting with the king.
I just wanted to have something that was vaguely related to any of the player characters.
Yeah, totally.
So getting another chance to converse with the king and Alessandro would be nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I dig it. Okay, cool. So let's maybe start with Lodwick.
Sure.
So Lodwick, you are with I think actually we don't even see you initially. So when we start kind of the episode, we fade in on a room that is relatively dark, sort of like lavishly appointed, but not ostentatious. There's furniture of dark wood. There is a probably like candles lighting the room rather than like a hearth or a lantern or anything like that. So there's lots of sort of flickering. The room has a warmth to it, and we kind of pan across this room. We see on the table next to the bed a large crystal decanter full of some blood dark wine, 2 glasses of wine, both kind of semi full, and then sitting on the bed, kind of like propped up on a bunch of like satin pillows. We see a woman. Now, usually we see this woman in more attire, but she now is wearing a robe, like a lounging sort of like robe made out of some diaphanous dark material, and we see Ekaterina face looking a little flushed as she reaches for the wine and takes a drink. We pan over and we see Lodovic. And Lodovic, you I think are like kind of, this is we're seeing the end of this encounter. Are you still like hanging out and relaxing, or do we see you sort of like lacing up your tunic?
I think still relaxing. He's fairly laid back in terms of getting things done in specific times.
Right.
It's very easy to get him to make time for his romantic partners.
Okay. So I think we sort of fade in mid conversation, and Ekaterina is saying to you, I heard something interesting the other day. I heard someone spotted you coming out of the court again. Do I need to be jealous? Do you have some courtier you're going to visit? Taste for noble blood, maybe?
Yeah, he smirks at her and says, well, I don't see why, whether or not that's true, is particularly any of your business. It's not like you to be jealous. But no. I've been dealing with them, but it's still an ordeal.
She scowls a little, and she says, darling, that's why you like me. Everything is my business. I've got all sorts of business. And she looks at you and she says, besides, you're helpless. It's so important to keep an eye on you. I wouldn't want to lose you. And she grins and like takes a sip of her wine. And she says, the court's dangerous. What are you doing there?
Well, as you know, one of the most important facets of business is keeping a hand or keeping an eye on the things that are changing most or changing the quickest. With the displacement from the castle, there's a lot of turmoil there. And turmoil, as you know, is also another word for opportunity for people like us. So I do have to deal with the nobles, as difficult and as unpalatable as I find it, compared to your company, of course.
She laughs and she says, it's a good thing that I already like you so much. You're not very flattering. I mean, of course I'm more interesting than a noble.
He shrugs.
Right, are you shrugging like, I guess that's true, or like...
Yeah, more like, yeah, I'm not good at flattering people. It's like, yes, you've got me. I'm
right.
bad at this.
She says, so what is it? They need you for your money?
Well, they'd like to think not. Or some of them would. It's honestly ridiculous. I worked incredibly hard I'm trying to cultivate a business relationship with one of them, and they just have no respect for someone who isn't one of them. But I found an angle in.
Is that so?
They don't seem to be above me so much.
I suppose it's true of everyone, from a pauper in the street to the king on his throne. You walk around waving a bag of gold and you're bound to get someone's attention. So what is it? Do they need a loan to buy tapestries? Is there going to be another feast?
He smiles at Katerina, and I think she is probably one of the people who knows about the less savory business deal. Like, she would. So he says, actually, it's looking like another opportunity for the other kind of business I've dealt in luxuries.
Is that so? Anything I can help with?
In fact, I'm sure you could. We're looking, well, most of the army, those that were kept, whatever happened up in the castle, has left the king in need of sword arms for whatever they're going to work on next.
Interesting. The city's been so sleepy of late. I dread to think what it would be like had not this winter fallen on us. This time of year, the heat starting to come back, snow melting, and all the rats come crawling up out of their basements. And no city guard.
Well, I would hate to see for the denizens of the country to fall to crime. As such, I've been working with some people within the court that we're going to rectify that situation, hopefully. With your help, if you can put me in touch.
Rectify how?
I mean to retake the castle.
To what end? I mean, the place is cursed, and I know the nobility, they love their symbolism. People do talk. Losing faith in the king. You can't rule from a minor house. I mean, I was never under the impression that the king's power came from where he put his butt at night. The throne, the crown, the whole thing, it's all a little tasteless, don't you think? And so you're going to pay them to recover it?
No. They'll pay me, of course. Put them in touch with people who are going to help do that for them. I think they need mercenaries. Weapons.
She pauses a little when you say mercenaries. And there's just a moment where she kind of like, there's a twinge in one eye, like that word kind of like sets her off a little. It's very subtle. And she says, why not just call back the army? I mean, if God's dead, then what are we even fighting for?
You know, I don't know. I've been, as you noticed, spending time with those at court, but for all of their further towards this great adventure back towards the castle, to whatever end, they do seem to be less than practical about it. It's a matter of pride, I think, more than pragmatism. Perhaps they haven't even considered it.
I wonder what the other kings and queens would think. Foreign mercenaries hired with foreign gold.
Well, I suppose if they saw a weak country, then they might be interested in foreign mercenaries paid with foreign gold to take advantage of a weak country that requires such things. And he like shrugs and is like, there's always opportunity.
She nods and says, well, it's hard to run a black market without a little bit of oppression. I suppose mercenaries are as good as anything. People are getting restless around here anyway. Might be that we need a little bit of order.
Yeah, I think he just nods. I don't think there's much more I can kind of add to the conversation. Like I've asked her for some context.
So the I guess that's the thing. Like, do you want to try to convince her to like help you with this plan, or?
Actually, instead of hiring people, I think I'm interested in her knowledge of what exists, like what my options sort of are for this kind of thing.
Okay. Let me look at her skills, because I don't know that she knows too much about. Like, she doesn't have like mercenary wise or anything.
I don't know who does though, really.
Yeah, right. This would be an opportunity to make like a mercenary wise, like an untrained mercenary wise test to like establish something about that. But I think like mercenary companies are probably like a relatively new thing, or generally restricted to some specific, like and this is a question for the whole group, but like what's the sort of cultural analog here? Like when I think about mercenaries in this like age in our history, it sort of tends towards like the French Foreign Legion, or like
the Swiss.
Yeah, right. Like
Guard.
I think, and that would be the thing. Like I would assume there would be one country that is.
There's probably a country that exports mercenaries.
Yeah, that tends to stay neutral in these things. Yeah, the Varangian Guard. Like the sort of Italian city-states. Like, yeah. Like,
well,
I imagine.
Here's the thing is that you said that earlier in the story that Lodovic's money being present in the town is what made it so that there were guns being developed. Who's developing the guns? Does Lodovic own, like, does he outfit his men with guns? If so, the people that he's paying for the guns might be people to go to.
I don't think the connection between Lodovic and the guns is direct.
Okay.
I think it's more the Seed of Silver brought a bunch of money into town, and there are rich people who happen to know, like, guns right now are still, that kind of thing, are very experimental. They're not at all like a country is making them to outfit their army. It's like there's maybe 1,000 guns in the whole world, and there happen to be like 2 of them here, and the people that employ the guards that use them, it's a show of wealth, right? Being like, look, I've got these weird new things that can kill you like that, no matter what armor you're wearing.
Well, I was just thinking that like someone who would be investing in that sort of like experimental tech for outfitting people might be able to like have connections to
yeah, definitely. Like there's definitely a country where that kind of military technology is being developed because their primary export is like trained warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's probably one of those.
Okay. So since this is burning oil,
yeah,
and since I have 7 resources, if mercenary companies don't necessarily exist, maybe we are framing the conversation in the wrong way. Maybe this is something that I can see as an opportunity to do for maybe the first time, or like the first time within this area, but based on some principles of the way that military works in the Lapis Federation, which I assume is less centralized.
Yeah, so the Lapis Federation, their military is non-conquest based, right? In the sense that like they have ships to protect them from pirates. They have large scale corporate bodyguard things, right? Where they're like, we're going to hire a company of, and they probably hire from this like neutral mercenary nation. And I think they have a good relationship. So probably when you think of mercenaries, that would be what you would think of, but it's not quite necessarily what Soren is looking for, but you can make that connection, right?
I think
you have a circles role that could be made there.
In an interesting way, Soren doesn't think that's what he wants, but I think Lodvik might assume it's for the same purpose, especially with the way that the conversation with the Katarina has gone, such that the country is seeming undefended, like the people are like at risk with the cursed castle and like mercy of.
Yeah, it sort of depends, and it gets into the larger political situation in that the king. And we sort of talked about this, that like right now, our equivalent of sort of Christendom, they're all like buddies because we have a larger enemy, right? And I think that's why no one wants to withdraw their armies, because if one person does, everyone will. And then it'll be like, well, the Stygians aren't our enemy, so maybe our neighbors are, right? Because they're all bound together by God, right? God was like, these are the noble kings and queens of the land, and you are like unto each other, brother and sister, and shall not fight, for there is a greater foe in Stygia, etc., etc. But there's this sort of game of chicken going on where it's like no one really wants to withdraw their army because that means admitting that God is dead and that there's no fight anymore. So the nobles might not see each other as being enemies in a direct way, but you have this other perspective that's more practical where you and Ekaterina can acknowledge like, yeah, maybe that is a thing. Like maybe we are undefended.
And with the way that Lodvik considers his like responsibility towards people, maybe this is sort of like yes, we do need to develop this standing force somehow. Maybe it's not bring in an existing mercenary company. Maybe it's create a monetarist funded militia of some kind.
Right. So that's a whole other angle, right? Like use your money to bring in people, not to take control, but to teach people how to protect themselves. Interesting. So like to arm the populace.
Yeah, I'm kind of more into that now.
So I mean, I think maybe this is a revelation that Lodvik is having, and I think Ekaterina sees you like kind of like sees the gears turning, and she like, I don't know, you're sort of sitting at the end of the bed, and she's like leaned back with her wine, and I think she just like pokes you with a painted toenail, and says, Lodvik, have I lost you? What's going on in there?
Only for a moment. I saw an opportunity for something new, for a way of solving the problems that the court has, the country has, doing good for the people.
And she kind of chuckles and she says, "You're so sweet, Lodvik, always thinking of everyone else. Well, don't get caught up in their net. These nobles are backwards and strange, and they don't think like we do. They haven't lived like us. Now she like gestures like kind of dismissively. She's like, you go and attend to the people's needs. Gods know you're done attending to mine, and I've got things to do." And she's like getting up and kind of like, she's like, all right, cool. We've dallied long enough. And she's putting an end to the encounter, and she's doing it gently, but this is what she does, right? Where she's just like, okay, well, like I'm good. You can go.
And like, as he's kind of still thinking as he like gets himself all sorted out, like puts on his like jewelry and rings and stuff. He says, "The nobles serve a purpose for now in creating a system that people understand. But perhaps if they are so, like some of them seem to be, predisposed towards impeding progress, then, well, I think allowing the people to make that decision for themselves is within their best interests."
Yeah, and she's like helping you dress, like she's pulling your vest on and like kind of listening to you talk and like nodding, and so she's like lacing up the front of your vest, and she like pats you on the chest, and she says, "The nobles and their predilections, I'm well acquainted with. The rest of this, your lofty plans, I'll leave you to them. But if you have a noble in your pocket, or two, or three, and it seems like they're the ones giving the orders, the people are much more likely to listen."
Of course. Like I say, they serve a purpose for now.
And yeah, she grins and kisses you on the cheek, and she says, "Well, good luck." And like physically like turns you around and kind of like pushes you out the door, and she's like, "Now I have work to do. Get out."
That's fine.
And
that's
pushes you out into the hall where your bodyguard and hers are both standing in the hallway, just kind of like staring at each other. And the door opens, and they both turn to look, and Oberyn kind of changes his pose to like, "Okay, we're going now," and gets ready to leave. And do you say anything before you go?
Yeah. So I smile a lot at Oberyn, like very openly. And I'm saying,
He just nods. He's like, "Sir."
"Now, I've had an idea, and I think it's going to be one that you like very, very much." And I'll like leave it at that.
Yeah, and so you start to leave, and he follows you, and he's like, "Sir," and walks off after you. Now we stay in this moment for a moment because Ekaterina is like leaning on the door watching you leave. She hates to see you go, but she loves watching you leave. And so she leans against the door frame, finishes her wine, hands the empty goblet to her bodyguard, and turns to him and says, "Go and get me the Stygian, the new one. Be quick about it." And she goes back into her room. And the bodyguard goes to fetch Joy. And we will take our first break here, and when we get back, we'll see what Katerina wants with Joy. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. We got lots more Burning Wheel coming at you after this.